Nervous, very, very dreadfully nervous I had been and am. But why will you say that I am mad? I heard all things in the heaven and in the earth. I heard many things in hell. How then am I mad? Hearken and observe how healthily, how calmly I can tell you the whole story. It is impossible to say how first the idea entered my brain, but once conceived, it haunted me day and night. Object there was none, passion there was none. I loved the old man. He had never wronged me. He had never given me insult. For his gold I had no desire. I think it was his eye. Yes, it was this. One of his eyes resembled that of a vulture, a pale blue eye with a film over it. Whenever it fell upon me, my blood ran cold. Very gradually, I made up my mind to take the life of the old man, and thus rid myself of the eye forever. You fancy me mad. Madmen know nothing, but you should have seen me. You should have seen how wisely I proceeded, with what caution, with what foresight, with what dissimulation I went to work. I was never kinder to the old man than during the whole week before I killed him. And every night about midnight, I turned the latch of his door and opened it, oh so gently. And then, when I had made an opening sufficient for my head, I put in a dark lantern, all closed, so that no light shone out, and then I thrust in my head. And this I did for 7 long nights. But I found the eye always closed, and so it was impossible to do the work. For it was not the old man who vexed me, but his evil eye. Then one night I was more than usually cautious, opening the door. And perhaps he had heard me. But no, his room was black as pitch, with a thick darkness. So I knew he could not see the opening of the door. "Who's there?" he cried out. It was a cry of terror. I could hear the beating of the old man's heart. Then a new anxiety filled me. What if the shriek or the sounds could be heard by a neighbor? But I quickly grabbed him and I did what I had to do. And quickly he was dead, stone dead. His eye would trouble me no more. You may think of me mad, but you will think so no longer when I describe the wise precautions I took to hide the body. I then took up 3 planks from the flooring of the chamber and deposited all pieces of the body between the scantlings. I replaced all the boards cleverly, that no one could have detected anything wrong. Suspicion of foul play had been aroused. Information had been lodged at the police office, and they had been deputed to search the premises. But what had I to fear? The shriek that was heard was my own, I said, in a dream. The old man, I mentioned, was absent in the country. I took my visitors all over the house. I showed them his treasures, secure, undisturbed. In the enthusiasm of my confidence, I brought chairs into the room and desired them here to rest from their fatigues, while I myself, in the wild audacity of my perfect triumph, placed my own seat upon the very spot beneath which reposed the corpse of the victim. The officers were satisfied. My manner had convinced them. I was singularly at ease. They sat, and while I answered cheerily, they chatted of familiar things. But I felt myself getting pale and wished them gone. The ringing became more distinct. It continued, and became more distinct. I arose and argued about trifles in a high key and with violent gesticulations, but the noise steadily increased. Why would they not be gone? Oh God, what could I do? I foamed, I raved, I swore, I swung the chair upon which I had been sitting and grated it upon the boards, but the noise arose over all and continually increased. It grew louder and louder and louder. Was it possible they heard not? Almighty God, no, they heard, they suspected, they knew. They were making a mockery of my horror. This I thought, and this I think. But anything was better than this agony. Anything was more tolerable than this derision. I could bear those hypocritical smiles no longer. I felt that I must scream or die. And now again, hark, louder, 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 louder. Villains, I shrieked. Dissemble no more. I admit the deed. Tear up the planks. Here. It is the beating of his hideous heart.